Let's freaking go. Nick Saban inducted into the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. This would be my question to each and every one of you. Big shout out to Boris already super chatting. It's a very, very, very simple cue. Do you take back Nick Saban into your heart? Even though he's shattered LSU fans' hearts more so than celebrated, or should I say, enriched your hearts with all the Alabama victories over LSU over the past decade. In life, I am a big believer in originators, people that truly start something. Over the past couple of weeks, I have sung the praises of Clemson and how strong of a team I think they're going to be in week one and how badly I want to win in the fake Death Valley in the season opener. But one of my favorite things about Dabo Swinney and the Clemson program is Dabo is a true original. He basically turned Clemson football into a traditional top 10 power. And at his peak, they were traditionally and consistently in the top 5 in all of college football when it comes to being a blue blood program. But the truth of the matter is that Dabo Swinney started it. He is Clemson football. Now, they did win a national championship in the early 80s, and they did have great football players and great teams before Dabo got there, but he was an originator. He got the ball rolling. The same can be said of Nick Saban at LSU. Yes, there was Paul Dietzel. Yes, there were great players, the Tommy Casanovas of the world, the Billy Cannons, pre-Nick Saban. Hundreds of college football players that were great at this program. But Nick Saban won the first national championship. He got the ball rolling. He was the one that turned this LSU program into what it is today, all the way down to where the students lived on campus. And earlier this year, for the first time, the man who spearheaded our new LSU practice facility that is still state-of-the-art, he got to step inside of it as a member of College Game Day, even though, of course, he has been at Alabama more so than at LSU. Nick Saban should be celebrated, not scorned. And I think most LSU fans quickly forget what he did at Alabama in terms of what his dominance was over us over a decade. I hated that they put belt to ass to us so many times, to the point where it really wasn't a rivalry. But it did make our wins all the more sweeter. Now, let's go to Boris' Super Chat, because the big discussion that everyone has is that, look, this Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame is another step in the direction of the Nick Saban rehabilitation program when it comes to our view of him as LSU fans. What I would say, and I do think this is very important, was it for the better that Nick Saban actually went to the Miami Dolphins? I can make a strong argument that it was. Let's go to Boris' Super Chat. We also say hi to Tony and Larry. Yeah, my grudge against Nick ended when he left the Bama campus. He brought about the resurrection of Tiger football. We will just pretend the bad years were a mistake and took a wrong turn off of I-10. So, if Nick Saban would have stayed at LSU, it is impossible to know how many national championships he would have won on top of the one he won with Marcus Spears and company, Justin Vincent, Matt Mock. The list goes on and on of how many great players are on that team. But how many championships would we have won if he would have stayed at LSU? The bare minimum is 2. He would have at least won 2 more, but more than likely, he would have probably won no less than 5. Now, I do think the Miami Dolphins failure, as failures tend to do, made him who he is today, the greatest football coach of all time. Those failures definitely helped out. I am always a believer in failure. But he would have never failed had he stayed at LSU. He wouldn't have. He wouldn't have failed as hard as he failed in the NFL, where he wasn't ever really just terrible, but it just wasn't for him. It was an overall failed experiment. But think about if he would have stayed. And think about all the things that we would have never had Nick Saban stayed. You don't know if you would have had those Honey Badger years. You don't know if you would have had those Fournette years. You don't know if you would have ever gotten to experience the greatest college football team of all time. Something Nick Saban could say he didn't have, which, of course, is 2019 LSU. All those things do not happen. And even though he did beat us down, the wins, even though they were few and far between, were that much sweeter. 2011. Who could forget that regular season victory in Tuscaloosa? 2019, the Joe Burrow game. Then, of course, Mason Taylor from Jaden Daniels will never be forgotten in LSU lore. So even though he had more success at Alabama than basically any coach in the history of college football, it is one of those things where I'm happy it happened the way that it did. I wouldn't want an alternate timeline, because one thing that happened with the Alabama football program at its absolute peak is that they felt inevitable. And inevitability is something I don't like. College football is known for its wackiness and its unpredictability. But with Alabama, they were Walmart. They were a monopoly, if you will, of college football dominance. You knew that they were not losing more than 2 games in any season. Nick Saban had solved, in many ways, the sport of college football with how dominant he was. You got to think of the national championships and playoff games he also lost. So when he wasn't winning, he was Jack Nicklausing a lot of these college football playoffs. Jack Nicklaus, 17 majors, 19 second-place finishes. Nick Saban, plenty of those mixed in as well. First ever college football playoff. Loses to Ohio State in the semis. Lost to Ohio State, lost to Georgia in the 2021 Natty. There's so many. So many Nick Saban dominated years. That's just boring. It made me actively hate Alabama because they were that damn good. So, yes, I won't say I fully have forgiven Nick Saban. I don't think you should ever just fully forgive him for going to our rival and doing what he did to our program. But he started all of it. He was an originator. And I want you to really think about your originators, people that truly started something special. And Nick Saban definitely did that. Now, also in that Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame class, the great Andrew Whitworth was named as an inductee, so shout out to him. But look, I know people at the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, and this is just how things go. People forget, people move on. The past is the past. When you win a natty, people just simply do not care. And this also turns into a Brian Kelly thing. You know, as crazy as this sounds, Brian Kelly and Kelvin Sampson are basically the same person. A lot of us witnessed what Kelvin Sampson went through earlier this week. I was very distraught that Houston did not win. I was cheering for them, even though I had a huge bet on the Florida Gators to win it all. Kind of an emotional hedge because I hate Florida so much. I was like, well, if they do win, at least I'll win some money. But I'll be honest, I am of the belief that if Kellen Sampson had won that game, the way people talk about him in the grand scheme of things would be very different. People remember you for winning national championships. And here's the thing, LSU fans will always love Nick Saban because he won that one natty. Even though he went to Alabama and won 6 more of those things, you won that one. You've got to get that one. You just do in the minds of fans. I don't need it, though. I am not an end results person. But in college football, wins and losses are all that matters in the minds of many. And, well, Brian Kelly needs to get that elusive national championship, not only for the LSU side of things, but for his own personal legacy. Because I think Kellen Sampson knows in his heart of hearts, it's going to be hard to get back to that point where you should have had a wide open 3 to win the national championship, but of course you traveled. Okay, let's go to Boris. I always thought it was interesting that Bama always scheduled their bye week before LSU. Nick knew. Has any reporter ever asked him about that? So this is always the single biggest gripe that I had with the Saban legacy. All right. And this is the truth for all of college football. Is that college football is really the only sport where the schedules year to year are unfreaking believably similar. You know, in the NFL, when you play your division games, it varies. Sometimes your division teams that you play throughout the season, you play them early in the year. Sometimes you knock out both. Sometimes you play a team in the first 4 weeks, and then you play the other division game in the last 4 weeks. College football, during that Saban run, they did a really good job, Alabama, of having a very rigid schedule format. And if you ever actually broke it down, they never played back-to-back top 15 recruiters. They just didn't. And they always put their bye week before LSU. They always played a school of the blind, non-college football power before they played Auburn. The schedules are very similar. And the same can be said about all teams. You play the same schedule format because there's so few games and there's out-of-conference rivalries that some schools have to play. So the format stays the same. And it makes your life as a college football coach a lot easier. It really does. Whereas in college basketball, you have no idea who you're playing in March Madness. And the same could be said about every sport. So it is a good question about the bye weeks before LSU Alabama. Fun fact, LSU and Alabama have had a bye week before playing each other every year since 2010. So that is 15 consecutive years. When we lost to Alabama in 2009, I was at that game, the Patrick Peterson interception game. We did not have a bye week before going on the road to play Alabama. Alabama did. And what happened? Well, they edged it out in the fourth quarter, partially because of that call. But, you know, there was a Julio Jones deep touchdown in that game. There's so many chaotic things that happened in that game. So that's always just been the case. You always have a bye week before you play Alabama. And for both schools, it's something that they want. They both know that that is the toughest team on their schedule on aggregate year over year. All right. It wasn't the toughest team for us on our schedule last year and vice versa for them. But, you know, I really, really, really do think that that might change when schedule formats go to a 9-game SEC conference format. So I could see that happen in the near future. Now, everything works in our favor. We probably would have had that 2019 team if we still had Saban. No, you wouldn't have. I mean, there's just too many. You would have never had Joe Burrow. I mean, there's just so many different factors. Now, you might have. But, there were so many things that just magically happened for Joe Burrow to pick LSU. So there you go. Now, for some reason, some of my comments aren't popping up. That's okay. Now, next topic. I want to talk about these quarterback rankings, and I want to start with Andy Staples of On3, who has Garrett Nussmeier as the 5th best college football quarterback. Number 1 is DJ Lagway. Number 2 is Lenore Sellers. 3, Cade Klubnik. 4, Arch Manning. 5, Garrett Nussmeier. 6, John Mateer. 7, Drew Allard. Sam Levitt. Darian Mensah at number 9. Carson Beck, number 10. Now, some of these I think are vastly overrated, Mensah being one of them at Duke. But you see for yourself, Garrett Nussmeier is the number 5 quarterback in all of college football. And obviously there was a debate with Cade Klubnik, Lenore Sellers, DJ Lagway. You could make a strong case that Garrett Nussmeier is number 1 overall. And we'll get to that in just a second. But I am sharing this because I'm going to give you another set of college football quarterback rankings. And this is from Bud Elliott, who I think is the sharpest college football mind of the national media. I really do think that highly of him. And here we go. His quarterback rankings. DJ Lagway, number 1. Garrett Nussmeier, number 2. Drew Allard, number 3. Sawyer Robinson, number 4. Sounds like a Duck Dynasty character. And obviously Sawyer lit us up last year. 5, Cade Klubnik. 6, Lenore Sellers. 7, Damon Williams. 8, Sam Levitt. 9, Haynes King. And number 10, John Mateer, the Washington State transfer. Okay. Now, this is supposed to be a point that makes Garrett Nussmeier look good. Garrett Nussmeier, a top 10 college football quarterback. In fact, a top 5 college football quarterback in 2 very prominent national media members' quarterback rankings. But there is something else that needs to get picked up that could mean very bad things for LSU this year. All right. And it's one thing that we don't talk enough about when it comes to college football. It's coming up right after this.
Let's go!
On a journey together with Zion Imaging, I want you to see this experience up close. And me as a wedding and event DJ, I watched how everybody had so much fun with Zion Imaging. And a big reason for their success is the team. Yes, Jaron Thomas and his family started this off as a passion project, and they have one simple goal in mind: taking your event to the next level. Whether it's a wedding, reunion, quinceañera, school, or corporate event, Zion Imaging is all about family-friendly fun. And I gotta show you on this tour the high-level technology that quickly sends your video session to your phone, whether it's iPhone or Android. Yes, it's the Zion Imaging 360 spin booth experience, serving North Texas, North Louisiana, South Arkansas, Orlando, and more. Give us a call, 318-469-4265. Check us out on Facebook or book us at Zion Imaging, XYA. Are you a die-hard LSU fan, and would you like to understand the complex game of football better? Well, sign up today for our PHL Patreon. This is his second touchdown, counter G while you're pulling the guard. We dive deep on recruiting and the transfer portal at a level that you have never seen before. Film breakdowns from so many different angles, and my personal favorites, oh yeah, the analytics, baby. I like to get nerdy. We take a look at cutting-edge statistics that help all of us understand LSU football even better. And guess what? Every new sign-up gets a Joe Burrow card in the mail for free. But we got to save the best for last. Our private Discord community of LSU fans from around the globe. Sign up today. Patreon.com/LSU football and put your name on our wall of patrons. Special thanks to everybody who's on here. Let's freaking go. Now, I put Bud Elliott's rankings back on the screen. If you're listening to this via iTunes, Spotify, or whatever, the problem, do you notice how many of these quarterbacks that are on LSU's schedule next year? Like, really, take this in. DJ Lagway, LSU schedule. Cade Klubnik, the number 5 overall quarterback, also on LSU schedule. Lenore Sellers, the number 6 overall quarterback, LSU schedule. And John Mateer of Oklahoma. Now, once again, these are the 10 best quarterbacks in all of college football. And the thing that is concerning is that not only did they make one list, they made both lists. So 2 different sets of eyes believe that 1, 2, 3, 4 quarterbacks that are on LSU schedule are 10 of the best quarterbacks in college football. Are you freaking kidding me? That is going to be really, really, really hard to overcome. Let's go to Boris. Garrett Nussmeier in his second year. Write it down, boys. Nuss takes that same next level leap that Joe and Jaden both had. It'll look different, but just as huge. Experience and maturity count. Now, I want to shout out LA Mom, who drops a very nice Venmo. We really do appreciate it, especially in the offseason. As you can see, our overall output goes down to mold around the LSU baseball schedule. LSU baseball is just so big. I don't like to compete. And obviously that Nichols game was rescheduled for Tuesday. So we didn't do a live stream yesterday. We did do a video, though, on Joe Sloan's play calling. And once again, we've gotten access to some very high-level analytics. And I did a very basic counting exercise, and it showed how predictable we were on offense. So it was actually a Patreon video, and I just released it to the public. So you get a free all-out Patreon breakdown. Julie, Skipper, Sam, everyone that is a member of our Patreon, they'll tell you that the breakdowns are worth it. You get access to our Discord, and once again, we're giving out that Jamar Chase jersey. But you get a free you get a free look at it if you want to see the breakdown for yourself. All right. Christian coming in hot. He says, kissing Nick Saban's boots is the most pathetic BS he has ever seen. Christian, he won an natty. It's just that simple. He won a natty. Like, let me ask you this, Christian. You coming in talking tough. Good to see you. It's been a while since I've seen you, Christian. If you were to go up to an Arkansas Razorback fan, a Kentucky Wildcat fan, a South Carolina fan, and you were to say, what would you give up for a college football national championship to be won during your lifetime? There are many fans that would not only give up a lot, they would give up even more than a lot. They would, if you were to go to a college football playoff or a college football fan and say, if you would donate $5,000 right now, and I guarantee you that I'll put in the script that South Carolina will win a national championship in the next 5 years. You just don't know which year it'll be. every fan would sign up for that. Even if it meant your coach were to go to your rival and kick your ass for a decade, I'm not trading it. I'm not trading it. And how do I know this? Well, I do Power Hour SEC. I talk to fans all the time from different fan bases. I got stopped in a subway earlier today. And it was an Arkansas fan who had watched my Darren McFadden deep dive that kind of blew up on Power Hour SEC. Go check it out for yourself. And he stopped me. I posted a little video on Facebook if you want to see it. And he said how much that video meant to him. Because Arkansas's best college football memory is a guy who finished second in the Heisman Trophy over the past couple of decades. That's it. That's all they have. They have a few big wins under Bielema, a Sugar Bowl appearance, and a motorcycle accident. That's a bad Sons of Anarchy plot. You know, like, what are we complaining about? Pierce is with Christian. 5 years of building me up will never outdo 17 of tearing me down. Here's a problem with that line of thinking. Is that he started the buildup. He started. I like, it's hard to get something going in this sport. Oh, so Christian's a little bit younger. He says, Carter, I was born in 1999. I don't have one good memory of him. This is a smack in the face. So this would be my retort. Is that memory of him, while it may not exist in your own subconscious, all the other memories don't happen if the 03 memory doesn't happen for people like me. I'm a little bit older than you. Do I remember a whole lot from that year? Not really. I was at the game. I was. But, you know, that started it. You know, it's so hard to start anything, anywhere. And he got it going. Now, I'm not saying there weren't great players pre-Nick Saban. I will never, ever, ever admit that. That is a spit in the face to a lot of great LSU players. And all the ones from yesteryear. I went and watched the Natty with my dad. My dad walked out, and he was like, you need to talk more about this guy. And it was a photo of Tommy Casanova. And he's right. And we don't talk enough about Tommy Casanova. He was the best player in college football. Number 37. His name is on the stadium for a reason. But I can't state enough. It is hard to get something going. Now, I want to get back to the Garrett Nussmeier conversation. And I do think this is important. So much of who you are as a college football program comes down to who you actually play. So what I want you to do is take a look at this 2019 LSU schedule, the greatest team of all time. I have always said this, that it wouldn't have mattered who 2019 LSU actually played. It wouldn't have mattered whoever you put in front of them. They would have beaten every single team. Texas could have had Vince Young at quarterback. Vanderbilt could have had Jay Cutler at quarterback. Florida could have had Tebow at quarterback. It wouldn't have mattered. But one kind of undertold story about 2019 LSU is that they did, in fact, play quite a few outright terrible teams. Arkansas was the worst team that they had ever been of this era. A&M wasn't all that great. I mean, they were solid, but they weren't all that great. Vanderbilt, not so great that season, as many of you know. Mississippi State, not so great. Auburn started a true freshman quarterback. So they played a true freshman quarterback versus Mississippi State, true freshman quarterback versus Auburn, true freshman quarterback versus Arkansas, as starters. So while I don't think it's that big of a deal, it's crazy how you look back even at 2017 LSU and you see that they were a 9-4 team, but the quarterbacks this season that they played, they weren't all that great. They really, really, really weren't. You can go down the list again. Now, the thing that the transfer portal has done is that it's made the floor so much higher for all the SEC teams. So if you're just now joining us, we just went on another Saban tangent, but I'm excited. Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. I'm always going to have a soft spot for Nick. Call me a wussy all you want. The one thing about this schedule and this SEC is that it is near impossible now in the Southeastern Conference for you to have bad quarterback play, or at least experienced quarterback play. You take a look at the schedule. I am not sure if there is a bad quarterback on this SEC schedule. In fact, you can make a strong case that Alabama has the weakest quarterback room on this entire schedule. Now, I don't think that. I think they'll find somebody, whether it's Ty Simpson or the Mac kid or whoever. But they have the biggest mystery box at QB. So you just saw 2017 schedule. You just saw 2019 schedule. You take a look at the 2025 schedule. None of these teams are starting true freshman quarterbacks. These are all year 3, year 4, year 5 guys that have mobility. And like we just showed you, 2 different experts had 4 quarterbacks on LSU's schedule in their top 9 national quarterbacks. And even though it was a top 10 list, Garrett Nussmeier was on both those lists. So top 9 quarterbacks you possibly could face, 4 are on this schedule. Most of which are coming on early in the season. Clemson week 1, Florida week 3, South Carolina week 6. It's going to be hard. It is going to be hard next season. All right. I think it's very important because unless you have 2019 LSU talent and Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, it matters who you play because this team's not going to be as good as that team. I think we can all agree on that. We'll never have a team as good as that team, more than likely. Who you play matters so much. And LSU's schedule next year is brutal. It's really, really, really hard. Now, they do get some breaks. No true back-to-back road games. No true back-to-back top 15 recruiters. But there are still so many tough games on the schedule and so many great quarterbacks. And we mostly focused on the top 10. I want to show you all these starting quarterbacks and their rankings in the SEC. I believe this is from a college football analyst by the name of CFB Budge. So this is his SEC quarterback rankings. I strongly disagree with these rankings. I don't think Nico would be in my top 5. I don't think Diego Pavia would be in my top 5. I don't think Alabama would be in my top 5 either. But you look at some of these starters, Austin Simmons, in the one drive he played versus Georgia, looked really, really, really good. Marcel Reed gave us issues, as many of you know, last year. Taylon Green can run. And you look, there's not a whole lot of bad quarterbacks. We don't get to play Kentucky and Zach Calzada. We don't get to play Auburn and Jackson Arnold. We're missing out on Blake Shapen coming off an injury with Mississippi State. We're missing out on Missouri and Bo Prabula. We have a tough quarterback schedule next year. So we better be ready for it. We say hi to our guy De Silva, the Ivanka. He's been with us for a few years now. What's up in Sri Lanka? One of my really good friends, one of my favorite college football analysts, is Sri Lankan. That's right, Cole. Your son was a part of that 2003 national championship ride. Right on the money. Let's go to LA Mom. Is there a super chat question? She wants to talk Alabama next year. She believes Alabama is going to be very good. So let's talk about the Crimson Tide. I've not really focused too much on what they've done or what they're going to have next year defensively. The best player in the SEC next year, I think most would say, is Ryan Williams. He's probably the best player coming back next year. Now, there's a few others that I think are interesting. As many of you know, I think Colin Simmons is a superstar. Us missing out on him was not so great. Okay, but Alabama, of course, I have not really studied their defense. I think it's kind of crazy to do that because I think the spring window will be weird for a lot of teams. But they lose Jahad Campbell, they lose Tyler Booker. I mean, they lose some key pieces from last year's team, but it's Alabama. So they get Ryan Grubb back. So the brain trust that they initially wanted calling the shots is now back. And now they get a quarterback that fits what they want to do. Now, this turned out to be one of my better calls last season, predicting who would be good in the SEC at the QB position. And one of my biggest fades was Jalen Milroe. He's not a fit for how Washington wants their quarterback to play. Now, that doesn't mean these guys that they have battling it out right now are going to be the guys next year, or if they're going to be good or not. But what I can tell you is I am not so certain that college football is ready for Ryan Grubb to be back, but the guy that he was with for 11 consecutive years before going to the Seattle Seahawks. So it's crazy that, we talk so much about Saban. Now you get another situation where a college offensive coordinator goes to the NFL, does the NFL experiment, and then comes back to college, where he was almost there last year. So it's going to be interesting. I think Alabama is the most ambiguous team in the SEC. Because I do think because they are Alabama, there's going to be a lot of teams and a lot of people still ranking them in the top 5 nationally. So we'll see how this all shakes out for them. But I've not really dove too deep on their roster just yet. Now, let's talk about some other LSU sports. Shout out to Jay Johnson. Weird game versus Nichols yesterday. I actually did something I have not done. It's a little personal story. I went on stage for the first time in 2 years, actually 2.5 years. Did a little stand-up show, and I missed the game. So I didn't want to go live because it's Nichols. So it really further divides my viewers. And we have a lot of people that are Nichols fans that watches our channel. So we're like, okay, we're not going to go live. Let me go get some stage time. Let's go thing. And I bombed for 5 consecutive minutes. I've lost it. I mean, freaking Robert Oppenheimer almost came back from the dead and said, bro, I could have used you in the 40s. And it was disaster. And I got an alert. I was like, oh, my night's about to get worse. But they were able to pull it off. So shout out to them. Really excited about this weekend series. Also really excited to share that not Blake Ruffino, but Joel DeLeone will be joining us tomorrow night. I've never met Joe, but he'll be joining us tomorrow. Obviously, he and Blake are really tight. And if you're watching live right now, I'll be on Blake Ruffino's show a little bit later tonight. So pumped up about that. Blake's obviously my best friend. So pumped up, to say the least. Now, I do think it is important to share that Kim Mulkey's been doing work on the recruiting trail. You get a nice transfer portal commitment. Really excited about that. The Ukrainian transfer from Notre Dame, pumped up to add some size. So Del Rosario's out. Her name slips on mine. I think it's like Katie something. It begins with the letter K. She comes in. I've not watched her really at all. I did watch a few Notre Dame games. They were a loaded team, so her stats weren't amazing, but a top 10 guard, Hannah Hidalgo, and the Miles girl, who would have been the number 2 pick in the WNBA, they were by far the best players on the team. So you're not going to score a whole lot when there's superstars on that team. So hopefully she comes in and takes our team to the next level. So a good weeks, if you will, for LSU basketball on the recruiting trail. Now, LSU has a lot of high school talent being infused into this roster next year, so I'm really pumped up for that. Now, here's what we're going to do. Next 5 to 10 minutes, I'm going to answer as many questions as we possibly can. If you super chat, we keep this party moving along. It's Masters Week. Not really a golf guy, but I like to place one Masters bet every year. And you golf heads out there, you got to let me know. Is my pick of Xander Schauffele, however you say his name, I bet him to win it all today. I think I bet like $5. Xander Schauffele. He's my pick. So let's do this thing, Xander. Let's do it. Xander sounds like a character off like Dodgeball or something like that. So I'm really hoping Xander Schauffele gets it done. All right. Outside of that, there was some practice footage released to the media. One thing that was interesting is that LSU keeps showing during the media viewing portions of practice basically the same things over and over and over again. And it won't be until the 12th that we actually see something else other than the same drills being shown over and over and over again. There's not really a whole lot to take away from that. I do, though, highly recommend you go watch our video from yesterday, pre-recorded, tightly edited. We talk about the Jamar Chase giveaway. I am shocked. Well, I don't think shocked is the right word. I am a little surprised, though, that DJ Chester looks to be the guy at center. He is continuously getting the first team reps at center. And I would be giving you a bold-faced lie if I said that did not concern me next year. Now, I like him personally. He plays very hard. He's very durable. He kept playing his ass off last year, but it was tough. Very, very, very tough. And that's, two things. Number one, the staff thinks he's talented enough to be out there. But what that can also mean to me is that he is out of position. So it's just difficult for me to say to you, hey, we go get one of the best portal transfer centers that were out there, but he's still mostly second teaming it. Now he's done some first team stuff, Braylon Moore, but there is growing belief that Chester will be the guy. So we'll see what happens there. I still think he should be moved to guard, and you let Braylon Moore do what he does best. But we'll see what happens there. Okay? Now, that'll do it for me. We will be live tomorrow night at 6. We will have a wonderful guest in Joe DeLeone. Pumped up about that from the Ruffino and Joe show. I'll be on with Blake here in about 45 minutes for those listening live. And I want to say the best for last. We just agreed to a new partnership for the NFL draft. I can't really announce specifically who that is, but it's a pretty fun thing for the channel and for you guys. Okay. So super pumped up to start talking more draft and where the LSU Tigers will land. Okay. Was had a Christopher. Was had a Amakat. No, could Moore play guard? Yeah. His first year as a starter, he played left guard at Virginia Tech. So that could be a possibility. It is Power Hour LSU. Boom. Tonight, we are doing Mahi Mahi. Let's go. Shout out to our top super chatter, Boris and LA Mom. Thank you guys so much. Let's go.